frequently at Pentecostal meetings and began to happen regularly to my father. It was not unusual to walk into our home and find my father sitting in his office, utterly serene, happily speaking to the air in this strange foreign tongue. I was at that time 20 years old, having my obligatory affair with a minority group, in my case a Hopi Indian, a postgraduate fellow at Harvard doing his doctorate in Aboriginal languages of the Southwest. One day, I brought the Indian boy home just as my father was sinking to his knees in the entrance foyer in one of his trances. The Indian wheeled in his tracks and he said, "Well, I'll be a son of a bitch." You see, my father was speaking an Apache dialect, an obscure dialect at that, spoken only by a ragged band of unreconstructed Indians who had rejected the reservation and gone to live in total isolation in the Sierra Madre Mountains of northern Mexico. Well, what do you say to that, Dr. Balk?
What the hell am I supposed to say to that, Miss Drummond?
Oh.
I mean, I'm sitting here boozing, and you come in and tell me some demented story about your father's religious conversion.
No, you missed the point, Doctor. Not my father's conversion, mine. You see, I'd been hitting the acid pretty regularly at that time. I'd achieved a few minor sensory deformities, some suicidal despairs, but nothing as wild as fluency in an obscure Apache dialect. I mean, like, wow, man. He was living his flattest right before my eyes. Within a week, my father had closed his Beacon Hill practice and set out to start a mission in the Mexican mountains. I turned in my SDS card and my crash helmet, and I followed him. It was a disaster, at least for me. My father had received the revelation, not I. He stood gaunt on a mountain slope and preached the apocalypse to solemnly amused Indians. I masturbated a great deal. We lived in a grass wickiup, ate raw rabbit and crushed pinon nuts. It was hideous. Within 2 months, I was back in Boston, a hollow shell, disenchanted with everything and dizzy with dengue. I turned to austerity, combed my hair tight, entered nursing school. I became haggard, driven, had shamelessly incestuous dreams about my father. I took up with some of the senior staff at the hospital. One of them, a portly psychiatrist, explained I was generated by an unresolved lust for my father. I cracked up. One day they found me walking to work naked and screaming obscenities. There was talk of institutionalizing me, so I packed a bag and went back to join my father in the Sierra Madre Mountains. I've been there ever since. That's 3 years. My father is, of course, as mad as a hatter. I watch over him and have been curiously content. You see, Doctor, I believe in everything.
What was that all about, Miss Drummond?
I thought I was obvious as hell. I'm trying to tell you, I have a thing about middle-aged men.
I admire your candor.
You've been admiring a lot more than that.
You're wasting your time. I've been impotent for years.
Rubbish.
What the hell is wrong with being impotent? Kids are more hung up on sex than the Victorians. I got a son, 23 years old. I threw him out of the house last year. Pietistic little humbug. He preached universal love. He despised everyone. Had a blanket contempt for the middle class, even its decencies. He detested my mother because she had a petit bourgeois pride in her son, the doctor. I cannot tell you how brutishly he ignored that rather good lady. When she died, he didn't even come to the funeral. He felt the chapel service was an hypocrisy. He told me his generation didn't live with lies. I said, listen, everybody lives with lies. I grabbed him by his poncho. I dragged him the length of our 7-room, despicably affluent, middle-class apartment, and I flung him out. I haven't seen him since. You know what he said to me? He's standing there on the landing, you know, on the verge of tears. He shrieked at me. You old fink. Can't even get it up anymore. That was it, you see. That was his real revolution. It wasn't racism, the oppressed poor, or the war in Vietnam. No, the ultimate American societal sickness was a limp dingus. My God. If there is a despised, misunderstood minority in this country, it is us poor, impotent bastards. Well, I'm impotent. I'm proud of it. Impotence is beautiful, baby. Power to the impotent. Right on, baby.
Right on.
You know, when I say impotent, I don't mean merely limp. Disagreeable as it may be for a woman, a man may lust for other things. Something a little less transient than an erection. A sense of permanent worth. That's what medicine was to me. My reason for being. You know, Miss Drummond, when I was 34, I presented a paper before the annual convention of the Society of Clinical Investigation that pioneered the whole goddamn field of immunology. A breakthrough. I'm in all the textbooks. I happen to be an eminent man, Miss Drummond. You know something else, Miss Drummond? I don't give a goddamn. When I say impotent, I mean I've lost even my desire to work. That's a hell of a lot more primal passion than sex. I've lost my reason for being, my purpose. The only thing I ever truly loved. Well, it is all rubbish, isn't it? I mean, transplants, antibodies. We manufacture genes. We can produce birth ecto-genetically. We can practically clone people like carrots. And half the kids in this ghetto haven't even been inoculated for polio. We have established the most enormous medical entity ever conceived, and people are sicker than ever. We cure nothing. We heal nothing. The whole goddamn wretched world is strangulating in front of our eyes. This is what I mean when I say impotent. You know what the hell I'm talking about there.
Of course I do.
No, I'm tired. I'm very tired, Miss Drummond. And I hurt. And I've got nothing going for me anymore. You understand that?
Yes, of course.
Can you also understand that the only admissible matter left is death?
Sounds to me like a familiar case of morbid menopause.
Oh, Christ.
It's hard for me to take your despair very seriously, Doctor. You obviously enjoy it so much.
Oh, bugger off! That's all I need now is clinical insight. Some cockamamie 25-year-old acid head is gonna reassure me about the menopause now. Well, I'd like to be alone. Why don't you just beat it? Just close the door and turn off the lights on your way out.
Mr. Blacktree disapproves of my miniskirt. It's the only thing I had to come to the city with. Back at the tribe, I wear ankle-length buckskin.
Swell. Just close the door and turn off the light.